You won't believe the stories behind these heartbreaking goodbyes. In just the last few days, the world has lost some truly unforgettable voices, people who inspired us, challenged us, entertained us, and left behind legacies that won't be forgotten anytime soon. If any of these names meant something to you, take a second to hit that like button. It's a small gesture, but it goes a long way in showing respect. Julian McMahon wasn't just a face on TV. He was someone who truly lit up every scene he walked into. From the moment he stepped into the spotlight, Julian had that spark, a mix of charm, mystery, and undeniable talent. Born in Sydney as the son of a prime minister, he could have followed a political path. Instead, he chased his own dream and ended up captivating millions. His rise began in modeling, but it was his roles in television that made him iconic. Remember Cole Turner from Charmed, that complex, brooding character? Julian was Cole. He made you root for him even when you knew you shouldn't. And just when you thought you'd seen his best, he turned around and delivered an unforgettable performance as Dr. Christian Troy in Nip Tuck, a role that redefined TV drama for a generation. And let's not forget his take on Marvel's Doctor Doom. It was bold, intense, and full of presence. Later, in FBI, Most Wanted, he brought real heart to the role of Jess LaCroix. Tough on the outside, but grounded in love and loyalty. That's who Julian was, on screen and off. Friends say he was a kind soul, a true professional, and someone who never forgot where he came from. His wife, Kelly Paniagua, described him simply. Julian loved life, and you could see that in everything he did. He passed away at just 56, surrounded by loved ones, after a brief illness. It's a loss that hit hard, for fans, friends, and the world of storytelling. Julian's legacy is more than the roles he played. It's the warmth he left behind in every memory, every performance, every life he touched. Young Noble, born Rufus Lee Cooper III, was the kind of artist who didn't just rap, he revealed. At just 47, his sudden passing on July 4th left a heavy silence in hip-hop, especially among those who grew up on the raw truth of Outlaw's lyrics. Handpicked by Tupac himself in 1996, Young Noble became the final member to join the legendary group before Pac's death. That's no small thing. His verses appeared on classics like Hail Mary, Bomb First, and Life of an Outlaw, tracks that still hit deep decades later. But Young Noble wasn't chasing clout. He was offering strength, especially to those who felt unseen. Mental health struggles were part of his story, and he never pretended otherwise. His death is a stark reminder. Check in on your people. Fellow Outlaws member EDI described him as loyal to the end, a man who stood for something even when no one else would. For nearly 30 years, Noble carried the torch of Tupac's message, fighting for justice, truth, and inner peace. He mentored young artists and stayed grounded through it all. His impact? You hear it in every rapper who chooses truth over flash. Young Noble may be gone, but his voice lives on. In every beat, every verse, every kid who dares to dream real. Gerald Harper had the kind of presence you couldn't ignore. You know the type. Walks into a room, and suddenly it's like the air changes. At 94, he left behind a career that stretched across stage, screen, and airwaves. But more than that, he left a legacy of grace. Originally drawn to medicine, Gerald found his true home at RADA and never looked back. His breakout TV role as Adam Adamant made him a household name in the UK, and his performance as James Hadley turned him into one of the most beloved TV faces of his era. But his heart always belonged to the stage. He took on Shakespeare like it was second nature. Benedict, Iago, you name it. His time with the Old Vic took him all the way to Broadway, where he proved that real talent needs no passport. Offstage, he mentored, he directed, he gave back. Even his work on radio brought comfort to thousands with that signature voice. Calm, crisp, reassuring. Actor Julian Fellowes once said Gerald had the grace of a true gentleman and the soul of a performer. That says it all. He's survived by children, countless peers, and generations of performers who wouldn't be who they are without his example. Gerald Harper may have taken his final bow, but every performance lives on. Richard Greenberg didn't just write plays. He held a mirror up to life and dared you to really look. He passed away at 67 after an illness, but his words? They're still echoing in theaters and hearts around the world. He grew up on Long Island, steeped in books and language. By the time he hit Yale Drama School, his voice was already forming into something rare, clever, thoughtful, unafraid. His Tony-winning play, Take Me Out, cracked open tough conversations about masculinity, identity, and acceptance, set in, of all places, a baseball locker room. That's what made Richard different. He could find humanity anywhere. He wrote nearly 30 plays, including 3 Days of Rain, The Assembled Parties, and The Dazzle. Whether on Broadway or at regional theaters like South Coast Rep, his stories always made you feel something, and think a little harder afterward. Colleagues say he was as generous as he was brilliant. He mentored young writers, gave actors scripts they could live in, and never lost that sparkle of curiosity. One tribute said it best: Richard changed theater, and he changed lives. The spotlight may have dimmed, but the stories he told, they're still lighting the way. Anna Ornstein lived through one of history's darkest chapters and turned her pain into something powerful: healing. She survived Auschwitz as a teenager. She lost family. And still, she found a way to help others rise from the ashes. She passed away peacefully at 98. But oh, what a life she lived. After the war, she and her husband Paul built new lives in the US, studying medicine and specializing in psychoanalysis. Together, they helped redefine how we understand trauma, with empathy at the center. Anna became a leading voice in child psychiatry and Holocaust education. Her book, My Mother's Eyes, captured her survival story with heartbreaking clarity. She spoke in classrooms, wrote over 100 scholarly pieces, and mentored generations of students and therapists. Even in her later years, Anna kept teaching, writing, showing up. One colleague said, "She didn't just remember history, she taught us how to carry it." Her legacy is a quiet but unshakable force, a reminder that the human spirit can endure, heal, and uplift others in the process. So as we reflect on these remarkable lives, Julian McMahon, Young Noble, Gerald Harper, Richard Greenberg, and Anna Ornstein, let's not just mourn their loss. Let's celebrate what they gave us. Stories that shaped our imaginations, words that sparked change, lives that made the world a little more beautiful. If any of their stories moved you, take a second to give this video a like. It's a small tribute, but it matters. And if you want more stories that celebrate life, legacy, and everything in between, subscribe and stay with us, because every name has a story, and every story deserves to be remembered.